I will lift up my eyes unto the hill from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The I am is thy keeper. The I am is thy shade upon the right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The I am shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The I am shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, even forevermore. Psalms chapter 121. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of the hearts of men's hearts. And let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed, that we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, those of you we thank God for those of you on this platform and those shared platforms. We give God the praise and the glory for you. And also, with a hand clap of praise, we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, those of you that have been with us thereafter and here and there's about. And we thank God for those of you that have just subscribed or followed. And we thank God for you that are about to subscribe or follow, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, yes, yes. Remember to look in your settings and check your, should I say, your notifications. Because some platforms have turned the notifications off on some things. Or remind those that you know that are tuning in. Check your notifications in your settings. Yes. To make sure it's on, that you're receiving all the different platforms or different videos that you have subscribed to or followed. Yes. We thank God. We're in the book of Oshea, aka Joshua is what they say. Remember I said before that Moses had a speech impediment. This is the reason for his saying, I am slow of speech. Because he did have a speech impediment because of what happened to him in the court of the king of not Israel, but the king of Egypt, or the Pharaoh of Egypt. And the book of Jubilees, the book of Joshua, it gives us how did the name Pharaoh come about. See, some don't like that. They don't want to read that because they're so used to it. And you have to realize those on the islands really don't like it. So it doesn't fit their agenda. And you have to be careful about that. Not all, but some, a lot, quite a few. So you have to be careful about what you're doing. God is good and those books are valid. Yes, I just don't bother with the New Testament because I might say a few things out of it because I was versed in those things until the Most High opened my eyes to the things that really are Him and showing us there is no other God beside Him. Yes. And we have to stick with that. That's what he says about himself through the prophets. Now, as far as other prophets saying other things, mostly the Bible, or what we call the Bible, is history. The words of God are mainly contained in when he says, I am, or he says, or it's saying that it's giving you the commandments, statutes, ordinances, and commandments of the Most High. These things are what we should adhere to and judge everything thereafter. Now, we're in the book of Oshea. Oshea, and we just got through with chapter, I believe, 16. Yeah, I think it's 16. Yeah, 16. Oshea 16. Now we're on 17. Chapter 17. Chapter 17 it's pretty good. It's more into the land issuing out of the land, and then the people going after the land. And it reads, there was also a lot for the tribe of Manasseh, for he was the firstborn of Joseph. Now, did we know this? Each one of the books between should I say, the first 4 books of beginnings. You have 4. That's the good news, really. The good news from Enoch, the book good news from Jubilees, the good news from Jasher, and the good news from Genesis. Yes, good news came. Now here is the good news is that God is going to redeem man through who? A remnant of the seed of Abram, even all the way down to Jacob and beyond. And this is what he's aiming at. I mean, from what I see and for the big picture that I see, God is not interested in the whole tribe. Although he wants all of them to live the way their forefathers have. But he's not after the whole tribe. He's not going to even go there. But if you would chase God, yes, God will show you the way and he will deal with you through his commandment statutes. If you don't do nothing else, all that other stuff is nothing. Now, I do agree with a brother that he had came and talked about fringes. That's one thing I did not know. Fringes. Brother Eli, I think he's on YouTube. That's pretty good. Fringes. Now, the Most High we wear these crazy looking fringes and all these things which really come from other heathen nations, which is true. Now, when God said a ribbon, he means thread. A thread that's sewn through the hem of your garments. And the thing is, you have 4 openings, 4 borders of your garments. You have, like he said, the neck, you have the 2 sleeves, and you have where you pull it over your head. Yes, that's 4 corners, or 4, however the translators translated. It goes back to saying hems. The hems of your garments. You shall hem your garments, that they tear not. And that's pretty good. I like that. But the fact is that we have a long way to go. Many of us are just coming into a lot of truth, and some people pick up something and some people don't. Some people get it, whatever. But oh well, we thank God for his word, that we can read the word verbatim and what it says. So you look that up and you do your due diligence and find out what the meaning of fringes. The English word for fringes, or the Latin word, or I think it's Latin, fringes, meaning hem. And he said with a ribbon of blue, that's threads. You just take a needle and sew it through the bottom, sew it through your blue, throw it through your neck, sew it around your sleeves, and there you go. You're in line with the commandments of the Most High. Yes. Now, for he was firstborn of Joseph, to wit, Machir, the firstborn of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, because he was a man of war. Therefore he had Gilead and Bashan. Yes. And there was also a lot to the rest of the children of Manasseh by their families, for the children of Abiezer, and the children of Helek, and the children of Asriel, for the children of Shechem, for the children of Hepher, and for the children of Shemida. And there were the male children of Manasseh, son of Joseph, by their families. Now we know even Shechem. Shechem is also another name that Abram had to deal with. Not only Abraham had to deal with him, but also Jacob had to deal with Shechem. Very hideous sons of Belial. Now, these were the male children of Manasseh, son of Joseph, by their families. But Elophiad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons, but daughters. And these are the names of his daughters. Now, you women can come in there and, pat yourself on the back or whatever, but it doesn't mean that. Look and listen to what they say. And Noah, Hilgah, Milcah, and Tazah, they came near before Eleazar the priest and before Joshua, son of Nun, or Oshea, son of Nun, and before the princes. These are the rulers or the leaders of the different tribes or different peoples, saying, the I Am commanded Moses to give us inheritance among our brethren. Therefore, according to the commandment of the I Am, he gave them an inheritance among the brethren of their father. And there fell 10 portions to Manasseh beside the land of Gilead and Bashan, which were on the other side of Jordan, the other side of the river Jordan. And the coast of Manasseh from Asher to Michmehath, that lied before Shechem, also a Canaanitish land, and the border which went along the right unto the inhabitants of Tapua. Now this sounds more, it sounds Egyptian like, African like, yeah, Northern African like, yes. Now, Manasseh had the land of Tapua, and Tapua on the border of Manasseh belonged to the children of Ephraim. And the coast descended into the river Kenai southward of the river. These cities of Ephraim were among the cities of Manasseh, and the coast of Manasseh was also on the north of the river, and the outgoings of it at the sea. In other words, you got the sea right there. Across the sea, you can see Italy and all the rest of the places there. Across the sea. And the goings out was of it at the sea. Now, southward, in other words, he's saying that Manasseh, the coast of Manasseh, was on the north side of the river. What river is this? The Jordan River, okay. Was on the north side of the river. See, the north side of the river, see, you got this side, the north side, and you go the length of it is mostly east and west, northerly, southerly directions. But this is the way the Jordan was situated. So on the north side of the Jordan, if you look at your maps, you got the Jordan and it leads down to the Dead Sea. Empties out into the Dead Sea. Now you also have the Sea of Galilee right above that. You have a big body of water that was Galilee. Okay? Now, it was north side of the river. In other words, you cross over. You have to cross over the Jordan because they were coming from the south when they came. Now, southward it was Ephraim's, and northward it was Manasseh. So either side, now see, now you have, Israel is not there. You have, they call it Jordan. That's really, they're in the land of Manasseh. That's really Israel's land. And was on the south side of the river, and the goings of it were at the sea. Now, Manasseh side, you go toward that great sea. Now, southward, it was Ephraim's, and northward, it was Manasseh's. So they was on either side of the Jordan River. Manasseh, Ephraim. The Jordan running diagonally like that, if you look at it. But if you look straight up, one is north, and you go down, that's south. Yes, and the Jordan runs east to the west, or west to the east, however you want to put it. But it dumps off into the Dead Sea. I'll put it that way. And you have a little tongue there at the Dead Sea. I don't know where the bay is at the top or the bay is at the bottom. It depends. Because they didn't have aerial maps like we do today. And, the wannabes, they put Jerusalem at the top of the map. Where they were, in other words, they were helped to acquire the land illegally. But either way. It ain't what it ain't, but God's going to make it is what it is eventually. Now, and Asher on the north and Issachar on the east. So you got Asher. Asher was on the north and Issachar on the east. East is going toward the Euphrates. That's east. It's toward the Euphrates. At the end of the Euphrates is Kuwait in your today's map. That's the east. So what he's saying, somewhere on that east coast or somewhere toward the Euphrates is Asher. No, Issachar. And on the north is Asher. And Manasseh had in Issachar, and Issachar Beth Shean. Okay, House Shean, something like that. Beth Shean. You got Bethel. This is Beth Shean, House of Shean, and her towns. Her towns. He's given a feminine thing because towns, what we live at, is a nurturing. It's nurturing to our life. It's nurturing. This is why men call things she. Nurturing. I mean, whatever nurtures life, they call it she. This men has been doing this since the beginning of time. It's not that God was married to a woman, because there is no women. in the spirit. They're all just spirits, no gender, but yet of a male heir, and then able to nurture. Now, God probably took that part of him that nurtures and poured it into the female species of the earth. I'm talking about from the ant to the human being, to the lion, bear, whatever. They nurture their young. This is the nature God put in a woman. And to teach their young, this is the nature God put in a woman. But still, you need that man. In order to have sound judgment of the child, you need the man. Now he says, now, Dor and her towns and inhabitants of Endor. Endor, you see they even made a wicked movie about the witches of Endor. Isn't that something? Blasphemy. And their towns and the inhabitants of Tanakh and her towns and the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns and even 3 countries. And yet the children of Manasseh could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities, but the Canaanites would dwell in the land. Now this is a curse. When we allow things to come to stay or remain in our life after we have been converted over to the law, statutes, and commandments. I ain't saying no born again, no such thing as no born again. But the fact is, if we sit up there and we've been converted over to the things of the Most High, we allow some practices to happen. Some of you still worship on the weekends and weekdays. Or should I say the Saturdays and Sundays? You worship on that Saturday. This is the Gregorian calendar. Okay? It's convenient for everybody. So, I mean, they've been doing it for hundreds of years. So, why not? No, God don't deal with that. See that you build a temple after the manner that I've shown thee, is what he says. Now, you're going to have to sit up there and you have to really realize. Now, from the new moon. You see it all through the book of Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah. You see about the new moons, but for some reason these translators, they don't translate it right. Not as though Jubilees, this is why Jubilees, they were able to mistranslate it. He talks about the new moon, but Jubilees, the book of Enoch and Jasher. Jubilees means 49 years. And every month in the Jubilee starts with the new moon. And people reject it because they're not used to that. And then you had one guy talking about, the new moon been here ever since the beginning. No, my. I mean, we've had our Sabbaths on the Gregorian calendar. Rome wasn't even invented then. Rome was nowhere around. At the time of Joshua, the time of Moshe, Rome was nowhere around. So how could you have the Sabbath on a Saturday and a Sunday? No, they worship pagan gods. But this didn't happen until what? I mean, so many years BC. However, after that mark that they say BC, they have changed the times. And you're still holding on to these things. Where the new moon is always the new month with the children of Israel. When we say a Sabbath day's journey, we're talking about 7 days from the new moon and 7 days thereafter until the next new moon is the Sabbath. Now, it can fall on any day. Now, at this point in time, the Sabbath begins on what? Sunday evening to Monday morning or Monday evening. As far as the Sabbath that I understand, I was saying the same thing. The Sabbath, I mean, all right, we'll give you E for effort, but the fact is that the Sabbath is determined by the new moon. The new month is determined by the new moon. Then 7 days after. Why would he even tell them, okay, the new moon? Then you're gonna sit up there and you're gonna after 7 days after the new moon or the first month, you're gonna celebrate what? You're gonna celebrate the Passover. So the new moon of the season where we see things are beginning to come. See, this is how Israel determined the times. They got so used to it that they understood it. But the heathen had their own way of telling time. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Ethiopians even had their way of turning. It's 2016 in Ethiopia, according to as I understand. Oh, my. You're still stuck on the Gregorian Roman Greco system. It's time to start practicing to get right with God. And many of you have gotten to, some of you leaders have gotten to so you've deceived you are deceived, and you can't receive truth. You can't receive correction. Because you have taught people a certain way, and your pride is so. You're going to buzz hell wide open or whatever God has for you from the book of Enoch. You're too proud to say, I was mistaken. Doesn't matter if you're mistaken or what. Best to give it up, turn it loose, like Tyrone Davis say. Let it go. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If I'm wrong, I will admit it. Just like the time where I see this here. I was thinking that I was sold on the pocket fringes was the things that you wore, these little crazy looking, funny looking things. Now God is cool. God said just sew around the thread. If you want to pull it out, it's inconvenient, or you don't want to be recognized, all you do is just pull it out. You can take a long thread and go all the way around, just blue thread. It could be thin thread. It could be yarn or whatever you want to call it. Old English is not, we have to really investigate and pray about it. I often thought something was wrong, and God is showing me things. When I say something's wrong to myself, God shows me things, or he have enlightened somebody else on. But the fact is, that part about the fringes, that is on spot on. Now, let us continue. It says, the children of Nasi could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities. Why? Something was wrong there. How come they couldn't drive them out? Only reason I know that Israel could not drive out the inhabitants of any city is because there was sin in the camp. Excuse that. But anyway, there was sin in the camp. When you cannot get ahead of your enemy, when you cannot defeat your enemy, you need to check yourself. When your children are being driven under and stopped by enforcers and made to go to jail and hanging with the wrong crowd, and they're just innocent they want to be, you need to check yourself. Because sometimes our righteousness is not the righteousness of the Most High. Just because you say you're a Christian or Islamist or whatever, if you're not following the statutes, laws, ordinances, and commandments of the Most High, you're wrong. This is God. It's not Isis. It's not Muhammad. It's not any one of them. This is God. It's not Gabriel. It's not Michael. This is God who says this. He might relay a message to someone, thus saith God. But that's old English of how they say it. Now, if we can find the original, then we can do some things. But right now, many of us, we're trying to feel our way through to what we read. It's hidden. A lot of the original things are hidden or either destroyed. But God gives us enough. And that's his laws, statutes, commandments, and ordinances and commandments. That's enough. If we follow them, hey, you ain't got no nothing. Just follow it. That's it. Now, that part about the fringes, that's within the law. I ain't worried about the other stuff. And that's where we ought to be. It makes life more simpler, don't it? You ain't got to worry about, and even the Sabbath day. The Sabbath is very important. And Satan really wants to screw us up on that. It says now, and the children of Joseph spake unto Oshea, saying, why hast thou given me but one lot and one portion to inherit, seeing that I am a great people, for as much as the I am blessed me hitherto? And Oshea answered him, if thou be a great people, then get thee up to the wood country, and cut down for thyself there of the land of Perizzites and of the giants of Ephraim. Now if Mount Ephraim be too narrow for thee. In other words, he's saying, you're going to have to get courage. You're going to have to believe on the Most High, your God. In other words, you're going to have to get a can of whoop butt or something. Believe on God. It's not going to work until you believe and do those things which God has commanded you. You can drive them out and lose your fear. Just toss everything to caution before the Most High. Caution to the Most High. You throw it to him, not to the wind. Or you can say to the Spirit if you want to, the Spirit of God. Because God is the Spirit. He is a Spirit. He said, now the hill is not enough for us. Now in verse 17, and Oshea spake unto the house of Joseph, even to Ephraim and to Manasseh, saying, thou art a great people, and hast great power. Thou shalt not have only, thou shalt have one lot only, but the mountain shall be thine, for it is a wood, no, it's wood. And thou shalt cut it down, and the goings of it shall be thine, for thou shalt drive out the Canaanite. In other words, get up there and do what you're supposed to do. Joshua ain't cut no corners. He had a good example for Moses. Moses was a man of battle, a man of war. And also he was a meek man at the same time. I could say that about that beautiful brother, Charari. Yes, beautiful brother. Yes. Man of war. Man means what he say. But yet a meek person. Meek person. Yes. This is what God is talking about. He ain't talking about that, or whatever you saying. I don't know what the word, some old devilish language you got. But either way, he says, for thou shalt drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots, though they be strong. And this is what I've been telling you. Don't matter how many bullets they got. If God puts you to a certain task, and you know it's God, but you say, oh, these people got too much, you got to make a way for me. Go and do it. God will make the way when you get there. God will take your enemies to the point where they can have a bullet and a shotgun shell pointed at your face, and you just knock them over. This is the way God works. He don't need a lot of stuff. He don't need all these armaments and all this stuff. All you need to do is be obedient. And fear not in your obedience. Yes. Whether we can compare it to Joshua, but I ain't going to say that. Because God's people have to try to take back what God have allotted them. Pray for it first. Look for an answer. How can I go about taking this? How shall my enemies be delivered to my hands? And don't look at their faces. Don't even pay it no mind. When you have to go up, God says, okay, I want you to go over here. And I want you to tell everybody to get out. And when they laugh, watch and see what I do. Oh, he's so good. He knows. He knows. But you have been conditioned and reminded, even in the book, or should I say, one of the books of Apocrypha, where the lady sits up there and she goes by herself. I mean, subdues a whole army just with her wiles from the Most High. And God allows a spirit can stir a man up to the point where he's just weak for the woman, and the woman has every advantage over him. And that's what happened. But you will get across it. Some of you know what I'm talking about. But with that, we're going to say it's better to obey. It's better to obey. And with that, peace.